Sthavakaya Jadamasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Sthavakaya Jadamasya Sarvadharmasvarupine Avataravariष्ठाय Ramakrishna te Namah. Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityormamritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to Him to remove all our ignorance, to light the lamp of knowledge. Let us pray to Him to give us strength to face the life with great equanimity. Let us pray to Him to understand the divine message of the Master. After the vacation for a month or so, we are resuming our activities. Today is the first Sunday we are speaking. It is very relevant how it is important to know about maintaining equanimity, particularly in modern times when we are tossed between stress and strain. So we must have a rationalistic approach. We must be calm enough to view the things properly. Only when we are calm and steady, the intellect does its action properly. If we are restless, the intellect doesn't function properly. It leads to all sorts of troubles. One thing is very certain: if we observe our life, can we find anybody who is having happiness alone all the time unto his death? Can we find anybody who is having unhappiness all the time unto his death? The answer is very simple. It is a succession of periods of moments of happiness and unhappiness, what we call in Sanskrit sukha and dukkha. They alternate. As long as we are in this world, everyone will have to pass through this experience. What is sukha and what is dukkha. There may be a beggar, there may be a king, there may be a leper, but the experiences may be different with respect to these different people, but all these experiences are received only through the indriyas, the sense organs, as perceptions. When these perceptions come and hit the mind, they give us pleasure or pain. So, life means pleasure and pain. So if we view the life in a spiritual way, we make our life blessed. Life becomes meaningful. One thinks one can avoid pain and have pleasure alone. In that pursuit, he runs after external life too much, becomes extrovert in order to satisfy his mounting desires. He needs lot of money, so he begins to earn money by whatever means, by hook or crook. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, Anyayena artha sanchayan ihante kama bhogartham. In order to satisfy their temporary pleasures, they earn money by improper, unjustified, unrighteous means. He thinks that material prosperity gives him happiness. He thinks he can get that happiness by engaging himself in all sorts of enjoyments, little knowing that any enjoyment is wearing a cup of sorrow. In other words, happiness itself is a progenitor of unhappiness. That is, sukha itself is a progenitor of dukkha. Why? Because we see in the life that whenever any enjoyment leaves, it leaves not simply, it creates unhappiness. Not only that, any happiness, if it is extended for a long time, then it ceases to give us happiness. In turn, it becomes very unhappiness. So, it means that happiness alone in this life is impossible. Unhappiness cannot be avoided. So neither happiness nor unhappiness is a permanent feature. So, we should conclude that happiness and unhappiness are in essence the same. I am talking about the ordinary type of happiness. I am not referring to the spiritual happiness that we get through meditation or other spiritual practices. What we hear, happiness, I mean the happiness that we derive ordinarily in the world. So, what should be done? If a person really aspiring for peace, he must learn to outlive or transcend both sukha and dukkha, happiness and unhappiness as well. This transcending of happiness and unhappiness is what is called in Sanskrit samabhava. That is equanimity. Now comes the great significance of spirituality. If we don't give attention to the spiritual ideas, we are bound to suffer. So, if you are really aspiring for peace, you must come wholeheartedly for spiritual life. So true spirituality means cultivation of equanimity. It's very difficult for the people to understand this particular term, equanimity. Whatever there is in front of you, for example, milk, sweets, or some dirty stuff, do you want to treat them the same way? Is that the meaning of equanimity? Suppose there is in front of you a man, a woman, a king, a beggar, or a leper. Should you have to treat them in the same manner? Is that the meaning of equanimity? But we must know that this is external, artificial equanimity. Just as when we see each other on the street or walking in the park, we just say thank you, etc., etc. We speak very soft words, But it's all external show, artificial equanimity, and it is meaningless to develop such kind of artificial equanimity. We are not referring to that type of equanimity at all. We mean equanimity in the spiritual sense, which I am going to elaborate it. Even a man of wisdom, suppose he is given some sweets and some dirty stuff, what will he do? Will he choose the sweets or dirty stuff? Even though he is a jnani, he rejects the dirty ones and takes the sweets. So, real equanimity means internal equanimity. Whatever our experiences are, in whatever way the world affects us, it can give us only happiness and unhappiness. We should be equanimous towards happiness and unhappiness. When it strikes our heart, the inner center. That is real equanimity. If we are able to cultivate this wonderful quality of equanimity, then you will make tremendous progress in your spiritual pursuit, and your meditation will be extremely good. So, the equanimity which I am referring to now is internal and not external. Please note that each and every individual is capable of developing it. It's a state where we will not be touched, we will not be shaken, we will not be affected when hit by either pleasure or pain. Suppose there is a man, he is affected by sorrow. What does he say? He tells, "Oh, it is my fate. That's why I am undergoing all these problems and troubles. Why should I have to undergo this misery? I have not done any injustice to anybody. Still I am undergoing suffering. So, I am just not born lucky. It is my misfortune, my fate. I have been predestined to live this way." This kind of argument we see every day. But once a person cultivates equanimity, the fate, the planets or the destiny can do nothing to him. They can only perhaps affect his physical circumstances, but inside he will be perfectly calm, perfectly serene, perfectly peaceful and perfectly cheerful. So this idea of equanimity has been given to us by the spiritual masters. Insofar as happiness and unhappiness are created by outside objects like friends, relations, employer and so on, we should cultivate equanimity first. Let us take an example. Somebody scolds you, somebody hurts you. Until yesterday you were affected and hurt, but not now. Do not be affected. Not being affected, that is the first step. How to establish ourselves in that attitude? we should reason out convincingly that infinite principle is as much in them as elsewhere. If I start regulating the whole world and wait for the whole world to become perfect before starting to make myself perfect, it would be just a wild dream. It can never be. In this imperfect state of affairs, what we should do is, let us become perfect. Suppose a man enters the river, he must know how to swim. Otherwise, he will get himself drowned. Whereas if he knows swimming, the beauty of it is he will come out refreshed, having had a clean bath. His body is refreshed, his mind is refreshed, he looks cheerful. So also, we must know how to swim in the ocean of this life in the world. If you know how to swim, then this world is heaven. If you don't know how to swim, it will be a hell, and you will just go to the bottom of the water. So, if we know how to swim in the ocean of this worldly life, we can come out with a refreshed mind and refined awareness. We should change our attitude right now. We should start taking steps for the cultivation of equanimity. Let me practice it bit by bit. Then how slowly I would be able to cultivate it more effectively. Let us take some examples to understand this subject more thoroughly. There is a man, he has a sick or a mad partner. So he is worried. So he went to the Lord and sat there for a few moments and prayed, "Oh God, what is this? I am undergoing suffering because of this partner. Give me a healthy one in my next birth at least." Well, in his next life he gets a healthy partner. His prayer was answered. But what has happened in this life, he is dominated too much by the partner. He didn't like that. So he again prays to God, "Oh God, give me a good spouse." Then in another yet life, he had a very good wife, but alas, she died very young. Again he prays to the Lord, "Oh Lord, give me one who can live for a long time, who is full of virtues, who is full of attainments," so on and so forth. So where is the end for this asking? Do not go on lengthening the chain of your births by unending desires. You will have to make a stop at some point. However perfect the external circumstances may be, you cannot get abiding joy from them. So, we must use the present set of circumstances as a stepping stone to evolve higher. Learning. If you see the whole life as learning, then you'll be able to achieve anything in this world. Nothing is impossible. So he must use his discriminating faculty. When he has a sick or mad spouse, he says to himself, I thought she will be giving me happiness, but she is not doing that. It's all right. On my part, let me take care of her and do my best so that she can be happy. That's my dharma now. Let me do this dharma without any expectation. Let it teach me that the world as such cannot give me an iota of joy. This is the way to reason and analyze our life. This ought to be the attitude of a man going or trying towards perfection. Let us take another example. Suppose you go to a market. Market, the vendors, it's not so easy to buy things. They will quote exorbitant rates. Then you have to bargain. It's not so easy. The vendor will abuse you if you bargain. But if you don't bargain, you'll have to pay a very high price. So what you should do? You must bargain in spite of the insults you may receive from the vendor. Not being affected by the insults the vendor might cause, you just bargain. Be a true Vedantin, knowing that the infinite principle is expressing itself through him also, just as it does through you. Transcend and outlive your wounded vanity. Take it that he is a teacher teaching you equanimity. He said, examination for me, how far I am practicing equanimity, even though I am wounded by the vendor's abusive words. So unknowingly, the vendor is helping you in your spiritual development. But that spiritual outlook must be there. Otherwise, it's impossible. If you can remain unaffected, in spite of the abuses by the vendor, know that you are progressing in the right direction. Let us take another example. Suppose you and your wife are just about to go to attend some important sport event. You are just preparing yourself for that program. You are about to leave the home. Just at that moment a friend drops in there. Most dear friend has come to see you. He did not know about your plan. Anyway, he has come to spend some time with you. So, your unavoidable duty is to offer him hospitality. If you are able to do that without any regret, without painful thoughts of what you have had to forego on account of him, without cursing him even mentally, then know that you are progressing in the right direction. So thus, we should take or we should consider every happiness and unhappiness in this world in the attitude that they are helping us more and more towards cultivation of equanimity. If you have that goal, I am practicing equanimity, always be aware of that, then whatever that comes, whatever that happens, you take it in a good spirit. Thus each and every onslaught in life should make us judge ourselves. Am I able to keep my equanimity? Instead of being a petty human being, getting pained at every hit we receive from life, you must decide, I am not going to let these things affect my mind anymore. If you are conscious of that idea, then you will be able to practice it easily. Whether you are in the marketplace, whether you are in a crowded bus, whether you are in office, whether you are in work, anywhere. Whatever be your experience, whatever the dealings the others met out to you, each experience you must use for transcending happiness and unhappiness. Consider that each and every incident in your day-to-day life as a lesson in Vedanta. Every day you need a lesson, Each person you come across is to be considered as the image of God. Your friend may criticize you. Ordinarily you would have been upset and hurt. But now you won't, because now you consider him a teacher. Why he is considered as a teacher? Because he is giving you an occasion to outlive the pain of criticism and increase your equanimity. Let us take another example. Suppose your child, in spite of his efforts, he fails in the exam. In the ordinary circumstances, you would have become upset. Why my child didn't do well in the exam? And you become angry. And many times, anticipating that the parents may scold, some children, they go and commit suicide also, because they can't bear the scolding. So, but now, because you are trying to practice equanimity, you will look at this incident in a different way. You will no more shout at the child in anger. Or you won't allow that incident to touch your mind. Please note that equanimity does not mean passivity or callousness. It only means you must be fully aware of what you are doing and you must handle it properly. So, particularly in this case, when the child has failed in the exam, you should see how the child is encouraged. You must see how the depression is removed from the child's mind. So you will advise the child to read the lessons more meaningfully and spend more time in understanding the subject, etc., etc. So also in all your worldly dealings, you may have to put up a mask of anger, but always have equanimity within. So, all these examples have shown to us that how to transcend happiness and unhappiness as far as they are caused by the external world. Here, this outside world gives you an impression which you receive through your senses, and it creates a reaction in you of either happiness or unhappiness. This kind of happiness and unhappiness can be easily transcended with steady practice. There is a subtler type of sukha and dukkha, happiness and unhappiness, which is rather more difficult to outlive. For example, there is a housewife. She loves her husband sincerely, honestly, and husband also loves her with the same intensity. The husband has gone for a job, but he has not returned at the usual time. Immediately the wife starts imagining all sorts of accidents which her husband might be involved in when he has not returned at the usual time from the office. So because she is thinking that way, she is highly depressed and she is agitated. Here, no sense organs are operating. No external objects are troubling her. It is pure imagination running riot. This imaginary, hypothetical unhappiness give much more pain than physical unhappiness. So, right thinking associated with equanimity will eradicate this second type, this subtler type of experience. For this unhappiness is hypothetical, imaginary, and not real. Let us take another example. Suppose we are in deep sleep. There are no thoughts. When you are in deep sleep, as soon as you are awake, the flow of thought starts rushing forth in all directions. Different thoughts bring happiness and unhappiness in varying degrees. Small bits of thoughts often do not give us any particular happiness or unhappiness, stress or tension. It is only applied thoughts, thoughts in which we give mental expression to our worldly attachments, and thoughts pertaining to things from which we try to get joy and happiness, that create stress and tension in us. Now let us take another example, how it is true. There is a mother. She has sent her son to a far-off place in Germany for higher education. She knows that education was necessary for the child, for his future prospectus. She knows it. And she has willingly sent her son to that far-off place. He has gone, Now the mother worries about him day and night. She is not getting sleep at all. She is not able to eat properly. Why? Because of attachment. It's a very tricky thing. This attachment, to what level it takes us down. Her mind goes out, reaches out, issues forth to an object which is beyond the comprehension of her senses at the moment. Her worries are purely imaginary. She expects her son will give her happiness if he is with her, and when he is not, she is naturally troubled. So in this kind of happiness or unhappiness, the mind projects, goes out to something away from us. As long as the son is in Germany, this stress is there, almost constantly. Sometimes it may be less, sometimes it may be more, depending on how many other thoughts she is entertaining. Now, after some time, the son writes a letter that he will return soon. As soon as the mother reads that letter, she is comparatively happy. The projection of her mind is reduced a little, and her stress is reduced accordingly. Now, the son returns back home. The projection is completely withdrawn. Here also, she is temporarily happy. She is temporarily contented. How long does this last? Why it is temporary? Because it is not permanent. The very next day she is unhappy. On another score, her son did not like the food she had prepared. The son did not eat well as he used to eat before. So the mind is projecting out again. The mother was thinking all along, I am unhappy because my son is away. If anybody asks why she is depressed, she will say, oh, my son is away, I am not able to contain myself. It makes me so sad. If her contention had been true, she should have been perfectly happy once her son had returned. Why she is unhappy now? It is a constant recurring misunderstanding in us that we are happy or unhappy because of the external world and circumstances and the things outside. But the truth is that as long as our mind is projecting outside, issuing forth, away from ourselves, towards the objects of the world, we are subject to worries, we are subject to anxieties, we are subject to tensions, we are subject to stress and strain. The moment the mind is withdrawn back to ourselves from its projections, we are contented and happy. So, mind without projection is having equanimity. The secret of true happiness is, therefore, a non-issuing forth, non-projecting mind. Now, going further, what is the nature of this projection? The projection is cast. How? By raga, dvesha and bhaya. These three are very important reasons. What are raga and dvesha? Raga, that is the tendency in us to go out for external objects, to get satisfaction. That's called raga. Dvesha is the tendency to avoid things which give him displeasure. These are all Vedantic definitions of raga and dvesha. Raga, again, is what makes us say, what makes us feel, I want this, give me more. I want happiness is also raga. Dvesha makes us say, I don't want this, take it away from me. It will immediately put its tongue out and try to get more and more, thus expressing raga. Give it something bitter, it will spit it out. This is dvesha. So these two features are congenital. They are with us right from our birth. Raga and dvesha exist in all beings. Lord Krishna says in the Gita, chapter 7, verse number 27, Ichcha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. From their very birth, all beings are deluded by bewitchment of the pairs of opposites like pleasure and pain, spring from the instinctive feelings of attraction and aversion for them. How do the forces of raga and dvesha affect a man? Raga and dvesha. They make the person selfish. You can find out anybody who is selfish must be fully armed with raga and dvesha. Propelled by raga, he wants to grab things from others and accumulate more and more the things. Dvesha means, dvesha, it makes him dislike and hate some things and persons. Raga and dvesha are at the root of all sins. For we commit sins only out of selfishness. We have seen in the world how brothers fight, father and son fight, quarrel, they kill, they murder, neighbors fight. Find out the cause. Cause is always selfishness, which arises out of raga and dvesha. These raga and dvesha are settled like dirt in our hearts. That's why the spiritual teachers always say, first you must purify yourself, then only you will get the vision of God. What is the meaning of purity? Getting rid of this raga and dvesha from the mind. As long as your mind is giving shelter to this raga, dvesha and bhaya, we are impure. We can't expect the vision of God. We can't expect the spiritual happiness. So it means that we must take all steps to remove this raga and dvesha completely from our mind, to evolve ourselves spiritually. So, getting rid of raga and dvesha helps immensely in cultivating samabhava. As long as raga and dvesha rule over us, our minds issue forth, they project out, seeking fulfillment of our likes and dislikes. When raga and dvesha reduce, the mind is withdrawn back to ourselves. Mind without projection enjoys equanimity and contentment. We mistakenly think that objects of the outside world can give us happiness or unhappiness, but the truth is that happiness and unhappiness reside in our own minds. Now let us understand this idea through a simile. A friend, suppose he calls you a mad fellow. What's your reaction? Because he is your friend, because you like him, you love him, you are not bothered about his remark. You just tolerate it. It means nothing. It doesn't prick you at all. Now, there is another person. You don't like that person. Suppose he calls you a madman. You are deeply hurt. There is a third case. A drunkard is passing on the street. He calls you a madman. But you ignore it because you know he is not in his senses. He is too much drunk. So, now you understand, analyze it. You heard the same word madman through the same ears but from different sources. It reached your consciousness and was received as an idea or thought, but the reaction produced was different in each case. So, a thing as such does not create pleasure or pain. Pleasure and pain depend on our mental attitude. Their seeds are in our own mind. We must consciously strive to transcend them and cultivate equanimity. That means spiritual disciplines and holy association always help us to cultivate, to develop, to establish in equanimity. Once that is done, you are always happy. With these words, I conclude my talk. Thank you very much. Sahanavavato sahanau bhunakto sahaviryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamasto ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. May the Divine Supreme protect us. May He nourish us May we work in peace and harmony with great vigor. May our studies be illuminating and fruitful. May we not dislike or hate each other. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.